It is not trying to make somebody do something they don't want to do, because guess what? We can't. Okay, no one can make someone do something they don't want to do. Our job, even Gary Keller says, our job is to give them the right information they need to change their perspective to make the decision that's best for them. Okay, we know that buyers and sellers, people we talk to, don't understand the market. Our job is to give them that information, but to give it to them in a different way. The days of going into a listing appointment and just talking all over and just throwing it all out there are gone. They don't want to hear it. People are fast, they're rapid. They want to know what they want to know that's going to help them. So to go in and say, I've got 57 things that I do for sellers, they only care about 2. Our job is to find out from the very beginning by asking questions, what are those 2? The agents that have been training with me for a while, literally, they will take a listing presentation with them and almost never open it. Because of the fact that they asked the right questions in the beginning, that first intake call, coming from curiosity and asking those questions and getting to know the person you're speaking to. Number 1, it will handle objections before they even come up. Number 2, you have a deeper understanding of what's important to them so that you can provide it. So when we start talking about the 4 cornerstones.
I just was making sure it was recording, so I already clicked out of this. Okay.
All right, so I want to set a little bit of the foundation of the methods and the work. Have that, you're welcome. Okay, so the 4 cornerstones that we teach are, number 1, the worst time to think about the thing you're saying is in the moment you're saying it. That's why practice and role play in this is critically important. We don't want to practice on our buyers and sellers, right? How many times have you walked out of a conversation and went, "I'm really dumb, why did I say that? Or I should have said this." We do it all the time. By understanding what this methodology is and practicing and role playing, I have a role play group that I lead on Monday mornings. I've been leading it for a year. So when people will say to me, "Oh, well, it must be easy for you," or "You've mastered this." No, I have been practicing every week for a year. And I still get into the room with Phil and I'm blown away at what I don't know. Okay, this is a practice. Even he will tell you, I don't know it all, I'm still learning. So it's really important to know what we're saying in the moment. Curiosity is the fuel for great conversations. The person asking the questions controls the conversation. Okay, think about that. The person asking the questions, not telling people, because nobody wants to be told. Nobody wants to tell you what to do. If somebody tells you what to do, your first instinct, without even thinking about it, is defensive. Don't tell me what to do, I know. Right? That's why when you have children, teaching my son this right now with my 9-year-old grandson, stop telling him what to do. He's going to fight you. He might be okay doing it if you asked him. Right? So curiosity is the fuel for great conversations. Whoever's asking the questions controls the conversation. People do things for their reasons, not ours. Our job is to find out their reasons. Find out their reasons. Why are they moving? What's important to them about that? What experience have they had in selling a home or buying a home? What do you understand about today's market? Understand what's important to them and then move forward with what you think is best to help them. Okay, person that asks the questions controls the conversation. So come from curiosity, know what you're going to say, practice, 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 and understand that they're not going to move just because you think they should. They're going to move because it's what they want, and we need to help them move based on what they want. There are three pieces to the conversation. Okay, the first piece is to come from curiosity. We talked about that. When you come from curiosity, okay, it creates certainty. So coming from curiosity, you're understanding, you're gaining the context, you're understanding what's important to the client, to the buyer, the seller, who you're talking to. And this works in all relationships. This is not just for sales, this is not just for business. Okay, when you ask questions and you understand what's important to someone about something that they're talking about, you gain certainty, you understand what's important to them. Once you gain certainty, you move into empathy. We can ask empathetic questions. And you know what happens when you come from curiosity? And then you start asking empathetic questions? Relatability. When you become relatable, you have pushed you showed me that you know me. You have shown me that you know me. You've asked questions to understand. You've asked empathetic questions to really go deeper in the understanding of what's important to them. And what happens when you push that button and you become relatable is they trust you. Okay. The minute you have trust, you now can ask those courageous questions to take action. If you go through all of the questions and they're in order, we're not going to get through everything today, but I want to give you this foundation. We're going to talk about what objections we're hearing right now and how to work through them. But when you understand what they want because you've asked questions, you've now become relatable, you've pushed the show me that you know me button, they trust you. Now you move into, and if you're really listening, and listening is important, because of the fact that you said this and this and this, I recommend the way forward is for us to do this. You've now become a partner with them and helping them get what they want. That's a whole different conversation than what we've been taught. And trust me, the old habits die hard. It has not been easy for me to change this. I mean, how many years have we been taught something different?
Right.
But people don't care about that anymore.
Can you give a quick example of what a question with empathy is and how it turns into relatability?
Sure. When you become empathetic and you're asking questions, they're questions that create feelings.
So like what?
Okay, so, well, we're gonna go through that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're part of it, but for an example, let's say I've kind of gone through the questions of really understanding what's important to you. What is your understanding of the market? And there is an order to it, and there is a reason why.
Okay.
And you get to well, you know what, could it be possible that if we price your home at the right price and put it on the market right away, that you could get multiple offers quickly, which would help you move closer to your grandchildren in New Hampshire faster? How would you feel if that happened? Just imagine it's a month from now and you're moving into your condo in New Hampshire and you get to see your grandkids every day.
Okay. Okay, now I get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
now you're being empathetic and you're creating the vision. Okay, we make decisions twice. Every human, we make decisions twice based on logic and emotion. Right? The Gold law. Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. That's what this does. Because you're asking the questions, you're showing you care about them. You ask the feeling questions, which are empathetic questions. Now I can say, because of the fact that you said this and this and this, because of the fact that you said it's important for you to get the home on the market quickly so that you can get to New Hampshire, so that you can be closer to your grandkids. I think the best way forward for us is to price your home at this. so that we have the highest probability of getting multiple offers. Are you ready to do that? There's another reason to say, because of the fact that you said, they can't argue with you because they said it, not you. Okay, I mean, think about that statement is probably one of the most powerful statements.
Yeah.
That you can say, but you have to have them say it first. So that is why this is a method, this is a process. Okay, but you have to take them to the feeling part, because if it doesn't feel right, no matter how logical it is, they're not gonna do it. How many times have you bought something that you really shouldn't have, but you wanted to because you felt good, because it made you feel good, right?
Yes.
Or logically, this is a really good price on this car, and it's this and it's that, but you didn't like it, it didn't make you feel good to be in it, so you didn't buy it, right? So think about what that's like. Okay, so when we talk about critical conversations for realtors, I want to go through as many of these as we can and have some conversations about what we're hearing. Okay, now, there is a whole page, and I can't give this to you, but I can have a copy made, or you can keep this and put it up as a poster. This and the workbook are something that there is a workshop that's 16 hours. If you go through the 16-hour workshop with Phil or with one of us as guides, you can get some additional information, including this workbook, which I have. And I'm looking at doing that at some point in time in the future. But when you look at this is the list of the questions in order. There is a reason they are in order. Phil has worked with a neuroscientist. There is a good friend of his that's in Canada. He actually trains Olympic athletes in Canada. He's a physiologist and a neuroscientist. And they did some testing on this because it actually shows how going from logic to emotion and asking these questions changes your brain waves. You're going from analyzing, thinking, comparing, to making a decision, back to analyzing, to making a decision. When you get to the empathetic questions, when you get to the feeling questions, it ramps it up. You feel good, you say yes. Okay, so there's a lot to this, and what I just want to go through today, there's a list here. You have all of these. And I want to go through these with some of these objections that we're hearing, because there's a way to talk through them that will be different than what we're used to. Okay, so we're waiting for rates to come down. How many times have we heard that? I still hear it. We're waiting for prices to come down, we're waiting for rates to come down, we're gonna wait for this, we're gonna wait for that. Stop waiting. We're gonna change that much anyway, but our job is not to say, well, what are you waiting for? They're not gonna come down that much. You should just do it now. They're gonna listen to you. You're telling them what to do. But what if you said, who wants to role play with me? Who wants to be a buyer? Can I get a volunteer? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So you're telling me you're waiting for rates to come down.
Yes.
Well, tell me, what do you understand about interest rates?
That they are somewhat tied to the bond market. And all I see is that yields are going up. And
Okay.
until I see that they're going down, we're not going to be interested in them.
Okay, so you're thinking that they may go up, and they might. What is your experience with rates long term?
Not a whole lot.
Okay, would it surprise you to know that the rates we're at now are lower than the average that they've been for the last 40 plus years?
I've heard that
Okay,
from people. But it's hard to understand that when we've had rates so low for
Yeah,
so long.
It is. It is. So, well, how certain are you that even if rates came down a little bit, that it's gonna have a major impact on your purchase?
Well, we want to make sure that we have a mortgage that fits in within our monthly budget. So any kind of lowering of rates I know will help us with a lower monthly
Okay.
mortgage, which is important to us
Okay,
to fit our
When-
budget.
okay, okay, and that makes sense. When was the last time you actually talked to the lender and had them prepare an estimate for you on what your monthly payment would be?
Oh, it's probably been probably at least 6 months or so. It's been a while.
Okay, could it be possible that if he or she ran those numbers for you again, that your monthly payment could be within the budget?
It probably could. Yeah, I could give them a call and say, hey,
Okay.
can you run this for us again? To know where we're at with our monthly payment.
Okay, how would you feel if he runs the numbers and it is within your budget?
That would be awesome, because we really do want to move and just are afraid of where rates are going and all that.
Yeah, could it be possible that if it is within your budget, we could find you a great home?
I would think so, because we still look, we still, see what's out there, we know what we want. We're just, seeing how rates are right now. And had so many friends who had really, really low rates and all that, and so, yeah. We would be moving right away.
Perfect. Well, just imagine that you have that conversation with your lender and your monthly payment is within your budget and we find that perfect home. How would that feel?
Oh, that would be amazing. We can
Okay.
finally move on.
Okay, well, if you can then talk to your lender. Let's check those numbers out and let me know what they are. Then we have the information we need to see if it's possible. It might be time for you to look in earnest.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I will do that.
You don't necessarily need to try to push them to go look at houses right away. What we're trying to do with rates, and it's pretty much the same conversation with prices. The rates don't matter if the monthly payment is within the budget. Everybody is hung up on rates or they're hung up, so move them. Well, what's important to you about that? Could it be possible that even at the current rates, your monthly payments within your budget, we can get you into that new home? I mean, it's basically the same conversation with waiting for prices to come down. What is your experience in the current market with pricing? Right?
Always going
Okay.
up.
We have statistics showing they're still going up, even though rates have not come down. You can show them and then you can say, well, in what's happening in the current market right now. And it doesn't mean that you can't stop in between to give them your expert information. What is your experience? Well, not much. You can then say, well, according to the statistics that we have in our current local market, their prices are still going up. How important is it for you to be in a home before school starts next September? Could it be possible that by waiting, it's going to cost you more because prices are still going up? How would you feel if that happened and now you can't afford the home that you really want? Just imagine it's September and you're still here. And you have 3 kids in 1 bedroom. How would that feel? That's why these questions are so important when you're handling these objections. But the biggest thing to understand is I've already asked a lot of the questions about what's important to them about the move. And you can go back through and keep using the same questions over and over. Whenever you hear a new objection, you got to go back. Okay, this is something new I've not heard of. I'm just curious, what's your experience with that? How
Yeah,
important is that?
all of that
So would you,
experience question,
right,
yeah.
would you ask them
Mhm.
like, oh, we haven't covered that before, where is this coming from? Or, I
No,
mean,
no, because
okay,
the other questions will answer that.
okay,
Asking it that way sounds confrontational.
yeah, okay.
Now, there is a way to ask that if
Old
something
dog,
comes
new
up.
tricks.
Okay, but this is
Yeah.
this is
Mhm.
the neuroscience piece,
Mhm.
and this is, so much of the emotional intelligence and everything else has changed, and the way we communicate has changed so much, we really need to change our words.
Mhm.
So you could say, I'm just curious, what makes you say that?
Okay,
Okay, I'm just
Okay.
curious, what makes you say that? And make sure you're saying it with the right tone. Why'd you say that? I'm just curious, what makes you say that? And why isn't the worst word in the world?
Mhm.
But in these kinds of questions, especially like with kids, why did you do that? Instantly
Right.
defensive, right? And how many
Yeah.
times have we said that to our kids? Like all the time,
Yeah.
right? If I knew then what I know now.
Right.
Boy, my conversations would be different, right? Right?
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm just curious, what makes you say that?
Mhm.
It gives them the opening to be honest. Well, I heard, or I read,
Right.
I was thinking this. Then you can say, well, what's your experience with that? Well, not much.
Mhm.
Well, would it be okay if I explained to you what really is going on in the market?
Mhm.
so what if they were to say something like, well, my parents just said, you should wait till the prices come down. If you're dealing with like a first time home buyer, cause I could see that
Okay,
being a real.
And that happens.
Yep,
Okay, well, what is their experience in the current market?
Oh, what is their
oh,
experience?
what are
Yeah.
the parents, okay.
They
What
bought a
is
house
their
50
experience?
they bought a house 30 years ago, yeah.
Because typically they're talking about what happened 30 years ago,
Mm.
You
Yeah,
bet,
exactly.
you bet.
right?
Yeah.
Now you don't wanna step
No,
on
right,
people's
yeah.
toes, so well, what is their experience in the current market? How important is it that your parents are part of the decision-making process? If they say it's really important and you can go deeper on this. Oh, well, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it?
Love that, because
Mhm.
that tells you, like, there's so many times that I've heard stories of where they're like, oh, I think the couple loved it, but then the mom swooped in and started. So if you get that answer ahead, if you know the mom's the decision maker, then.
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
you-
Exactly, but
Right.
that's exactly it. When you
Yeah.
ask these questions up
Right.
front and you're at your initial consultation,
Mhm.
you have this understanding and you know up front what you're dealing with. Now you can say, well, thank you for telling me that. That's important for me to know. Would it be possible,
Yeah,
okay, would it be possible for us to have a conversation together with mom and dad so that we're all on the same page?
Mhm.
Now you can ask the questions of mom and dad. They might back down, they change their mind, they might not.
yeah,
But if they are in the room and you're saying, or Zoom or whatever it is, well, what's your experience? How important is it to you that the kids wait? And get an understanding from them, because now you're asking questions to show you're coming from curiosity.
yeah.
You're understanding their context and where they're coming from. You start asking them, well, how would you feel if a great home came up for them and it was within their budget, but they didn't get to see it because they're waiting?
Yeah.
Just imagine that happens,
Right.
and now prices didn't come down and they can't afford a house like that, and that's the one they really wanted.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, if only these conversations were had over the years.
Yeah.
Cause I just think about, cause if if you can have that meeting with the parents as well, it might also be eye-opening to the buyers who might be like, oh, They may not need their, you know, it
Right,
might be.
Right, exactly.
Especially the question she just asked. you know, like,
Yes.
If they wait and then they lose that opportunity, how would
Are
that make
you
you
as
feel? If
parents
that's
really going to?
right.
And that, it's
Yeah.
not confrontational.
No,
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 it's
No, there's,
asking.
the minute
Right.
you get
Yeah.
confrontational, you lost.
Right,
Right.
Okay, so it's
exactly.
not, it's, you're just asking questions.
Right.
And if the parents now feel that you've now become relatable and they trust you, well, now you've got more allies when you're looking at properties and making a decision. Is it more complicated? Sure, but we all get parents.
Mhm.
Some of them are really like crazy over the top and we have to deal with it. We have to.
Right,
But if you start out by asking questions if somebody comes and starts asking you questions about you, you instantly change and go, oh, they really care about me. So if you do that to the parents, not only are you showing you care about them, they're gonna trust you to care about their kids. How would you feel if you waited for prices to come down and they don't, they're predicted to go up, we're watching them still go up. And now they can't buy the house that they really wanted to buy.
Hence not giving you the grandchildren you really, really want.
you get them out of your basement.
But I mean, think about that. I mean, all of these, you can use them all. I wanna work with the listing agent.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
I've had that
so
one several times
how,
lately.
how do you deal with that one? I want to
Wait.
work with the.
Well, Sam, yeah, what's important, why is it important for you to?
What's important to you about that?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm gonna save money. Because then the seller doesn't have to pay. I read. I heard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, well, what is your experience? In buying a home unrepresented?
Right.
Okay, and you've got the whole list, they're in the book. So what is your experiences next? How certain are you? How certain are you that you wanna buy a home unrepresented by a professional? Right? When was the last time you thought about doing something like this? How important is it that as you're going through the process, you have somebody that you can ask questions of that can actually answer you? Well, of course it's important. What do you mean? Why can't the agent answer me? What do you understand about a listing agent and representation in the state of Wisconsin and who they represent? Because you probably don't.
Mhm.
Could it be possible that it's gonna cost you a lot more money? If you don't have somebody looking out for your best interest?
Absolutely.
Right? And then it gets into empathy. How would you feel? If something happened that maybe during the inspection or the title issues. And there was no one to represent you and you didn't know what to do and you had to hire an attorney. Just imagine that happens. And being unrepresented with that offer, you could not only have to pay an attorney, but you might lose your earnest money. Because you didn't have a professional representing you. I mean, so it's the same questions. These questions work for anything. You just have to practice though, this is where the practice comes in. How would you feel if something happened? And you would have to hire an attorney and spend even more money because you didn't have someone representing you. Okay, so same thing, and we're hearing, obviously, I've been hearing it forever. It's getting a lot worse. We have to sell our first house. Or sell our house first. Sometimes we hear this and they really don't. And again, it's our responsibility to ask them questions. Oh, well, what's your experience with buying a home before selling your existing home? and just go through the questions because, and they may have to. But if we don't ask, they don't necessarily know that they can buy without selling. What's your experience in this market trying to sell or trying to buy with a home sale contingency? How important is it for you to buy a bigger home? Could it be possible? Could it be possible that if you speak to our preferred lender, there's a way for you to buy without selling your existing home, so you don't have to make a double move? Or so that you don't lose out on every offer because you're the only one with a home sale contingency. Okay, so you can see all the questions, you just run through them. This is my favorite, because all of our buyers agents are still getting this. They're not pre-approved or they don't want to sign anything. But again, well, what's your experience? What do you understand? And you might want to start out with, well, what do you understand about representation of buyers in the state of Wisconsin? What's your experience? They don't. If it's a first-time buyer, especially, they don't. This is when it's really easy to go through those questions and then say, when would be a good time for us to get together? And then have the conversation, have the consultation, get them pre-approved. Because we don't want to waste our time. You're not going to do it. Even if they're willing to sign the one sheeter to go look at a house, why would we do that? You're not. All right. Sellers, will you lower your commission? Same thing. Well, what do you understand about how real estate agents get paid? What do you understand about hiring a professional and how they'll represent you? It's the same thing with, so-and-so said they do it for this or whatever. Discount brokers, what is your experience with working with a discount broker? Well, none. We've not done it before, but why should I pay you more? That's a really good question. What kind of representation are you looking for? I mean, we can ask, and you can throw other questions in. How certain are you that they're going to be available for you when you need them? If they're giving you limited service? Could it be possible an offer comes in and they don't respond and you lose a buyer, you lose a really good offer? I mean, we know that happens, right? How many times have we submitted an offer to a discount broker for a buyer and 3 days later they still haven't responded? And they're out there. It's not all of them, they're not all terrible, but we're trying to get, how important is it that you get your home sold for the highest? Oh. Another agent, they could get us more money. Love this one, because people are buying listings because there's so few listings and way too many agents out there, right? Well, think about, what do you understand? Again, it's running through. Well, what do you understand about pricing in the current market? What do you understand about looking at comparable sold properties and stop saying comps because they don't know what we're talking about? What do you understand about analyzing the comparable sold properties in the local market? What is your experience with pricing a home for sale? What is your experience? Have you sold a home before? Sometimes just asking if they sold a home before and asking them, well, what was that experience like? They're going to tell you what they liked and what they didn't like without you saying, what did you like and what did you do? Well, what was that experience like? Well, it was, 2020 and we didn't know what was going to happen because of COVID, and we had 17 offers and they were $100,000 or whatever. right? They're gonna give you whatever it was that happened. Now you know what's important to them and what's not. Or you know what their experience is. And that's not gonna be their experience now. So then you can talk through that, how certain are you that at a higher price you're gonna get offers? What do you understand about? Could it be possible? Could it be possible that by overpricing your home, you're not gonna get offers at all? May I explain? Show them days on market. I mean, yes, there's still buyers out there, but days on market are expanding and you can go back, 6 months. This is what it was 6 months ago. This is what it is now. It's kind of changing. How would you feel if you put your house on the market at 500,000 when the comparable sold properties, which an appraiser is going to use, show that it's only worth 450? How would you feel if you do that and 4 months from now it's still on the market? Could it be possible that buyers will think there's something wrong with your house? You're not telling them that buyers will, you're asking them, could it be possible? What do you understand? You're not gonna say, well, you know what happens, and it's gonna be on the market for 6 months, and then buyers are gonna think there's something wrong with it, and then you won't get any showings that, even if we reduce the price, nobody's gonna look at it anyway, because it's been on the market too long. Isn't that what we throw up at them?
Sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what we do. That's what we were told to do. What if you said, well, could it be possible that if we price the property at the list price that you want, that it's still gonna be on the market 4 months from now? And could it be possible that buyers are gonna think there's something wrong with it because it's been on the market for so long? Just imagine that happens. What do you think a buyer would offer if they did decide to write an offer? It's causing them to think.
That's what I was just thinking. They're self-discovering the answers.
Right.
Cause
Right.
that's what I was thinking. You put one more question in there and then the self-discovery, and I was almost like, oh, then you could ask like, how do you think that'll make buyers feel? Or
Right.
what experience, would the buyer have on their side then,
Right.
whatever. And so, yeah, I love
See,
that.
there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for the light bulb moment.
Right?
No, you're
that's
causing them to think. No, that's it. You're making them think. They're the ones that are thinking, they're answering your questions.
Right.
Now you're gonna say, because of the fact that you said,
Mhm.
when you get to the end, because of the fact that you said, you understand that buyers
Mhm.
would offer less if it's on the market for a really long time, that the price is much higher than what the comparable sold properties are, and you really want to get the house sold within the next 30 days. Then I think our way forward is to list it at 450.
Mhm.
Which gives us the highest and best probability of getting multiple offers that might get you closer to your 500. You're asking them the questions, they're giving you the answers. Now you can say, because of the fact that you said, I didn't, I just asked a question,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not going to make any repairs, improvements, kind of the same conversation. We hear that. I'm just telling it as is. Okay, well, what's your experience with that? You go through the questions, and when you get to, could it be possible that by not making the improvements, you're going to miss out on qualified buyers because of the way the house looks? Could it be possible by making these improvements, you're gonna have a lot more buyers looking at the property, meaning you have a higher probability of getting an offer, a good offer? Just imagine you didn't take the time to paint, or whatever it is. Now, and we're not talking like major stuff, but I mean, they don't even wanna like clean out closets or paint or do anything. We wanted to show, well, and how, just imagine, how would you feel?
Should paint in the shed. Knock out FHA buyers or, you know, just, yeah.
Right. Right, right. Okay, we're working with VA buyers right now and in their price range, especially it's top, they're up to 350. We know what that price range is at 350
Mhm.
Mhm.
and they're transferring. He's gotta be here. And they've gotten two accepted offers and both of them were stuff that came up that we couldn't see, that weren't disclosed, that were too big. Cause the buyers are both saying, you know, well, we're willing to scrape and paint if we have to. We've talked through all of the things that could happen. But there's a story. We all have a story. Tell the story. You know, we've got a lot of FHA and VA buyers out there. What is your experience about what happens with an FHA or VA appraisal? And you can talk about the possible repairs, especially if it's like chipping and peeling paint or a trip hazard, things we know could come up,
Mhm.
you know, so. We need to think about it. Okay, no is better than we need to think about it. At least you have a decision, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
Oh, I'm just curious, what is it that you need to think about? 9 times out of 10, there isn't anything they need to think about. Seriously, they're
Mhm.
just not, they're just afraid
Mhm.
to make a decision. There really isn't anything. So if they say to you, well, usually they'll kind of go, well. I guess I don't know, there really isn't anything specific. Oh, well. Could it be possible if I've answered all your questions that. Because of the fact that you said this, this, and this, you're ready to move forward? Almost every time it's like, well, yeah, I guess we are.
Right, and I love that you're nodding your head yes as
Yes.
you're saying that.
Yep.
Would it be possible?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's yes, we don't need to think about it. They just don't want to be sold to, and we haven't sold to them. When you have these conversations, you're not selling to them. I'm just curious, what is it you need to think about? And really, you could either that, or I'm just curious what makes you say that. Either way, when you stack, and just curious is one of the phrases. When you stack phrases like that, it softens it even more. One of the phrases that's not in these, what these are called perspective changers. Is how open-minded are you? Do not say open, say open-minded. Now, there's two things with open-minded. Would you be open-minded or how open-minded are you? Would you be open-minded too? You're asking them for a decision. Because it's either a yes or no, I am or I'm not. How open-minded? Well, I'm just curious, how open-minded would you be to scheduling some time for us to get together for a strategy meeting?
Mhm.
People are like, oh, yeah, okay. And don't use appointment. I've got 1,000,001, they're called simple swaps. I do a simple swap video on my Facebook page every Wednesday, so.
Cool.
Go to the Facebook page, there's a ton. But think about, if I came to you and said, well, just curious, how open-minded would you be to scheduling a strategy meeting with me?
Mhm.
People want to be open-minded. If you're in a room with 1,000 people and you ask them all, how do you think about being open-minded? Do you think you're an open-minded person? The only people that don't raise their hands are the ones that never raise their hands for anything, right? We want to be looked at as an open-minded human. So how open-minded would you be? To scheduling a strategy meeting?
Mhm.
I'm not willing to lower my asking price. We are looking for price reductions. People are looking for price reductions. I have agents going all the time. I don't get it. It's sitting on the market and they're still not willing. You need to ask them questions and take them back to the reason why they put the house on the market in the first place. What is your experience in pricing a home properly. Go ahead and ask the question. Because they know that it was their choice and not yours to be at this price, right? How important is it when you start going through it, and just curious, how important is it for you to move? Because at this point, they don't have an offer yet. And they can't say, well, you told us to price it here. They shouldn't be able to say that if you had the right conversation to begin with. Well, could it be possible that the market has clearly shown us buyers in the market aren't willing to pay this price for your home? Now, you might have to run some numbers for them. Would it be helpful if we reran some numbers so you could see, please don't use net, you don't get it. Would it be helpful if I ran the numbers again on a lower price so you could see how your profits changed? Because it's not dollar for dollar, and we want them to see it. You might run the numbers and say, you know what, based on if we reduce the price to this, and it sells for that, based on that number, your profit would now be this. Is that enough for you to make this move? Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, because of the fact that you said yes, why don't we go ahead and lower the price? It sounds simple, but you have to practice because we have had the exact opposite conversations pounded into our head for years. But if I come to you and say that, and you look at the number, you go, well, yeah, I guess, this is enough. Well, if it is enough, because you're saying it's enough, then should we move forward and reduce the price so we could try to get more buyers in the door and get you an offer? So the things to remember, the worst time to think about what you're saying is in the moment you're saying it. Practice, practice, practice. The book is on Audible. Listen, listen, listen. Do you guys have cards here?
We
Yes,
do.
yes,
Okay.
those are really good.
There's like 1,000,001
Very good,
ways to
yes.
use the cards for role play. And if you want me to just like jump on a Zoom one day and go through some stuff with you, I would be happy to do that and do a role play hour with the cards and help you guys set up a role play group because this works. It works. Hey, curiosity. The people for great conversations. People do things for their reasons, not ours. Person asking the questions controls the conversation. Okay, so couple of things. First of all, what questions might be?
Chris, these seem like really great conversations for one-on-one, like if you're in person with them or on a Zoom. But what about if you're starting from a text or if you're starting from a online lead or something like that?
Okay. That's why I want you to look at the book. I'm gonna send this to you. I technically cannot give it out to everyone
Sure.
unless they've gone through the 18 or the 16-hour training. You can
Gotcha.
put it up as a poster.
Okay,
Okay, I am licensed to teach Phil's work. I can do everything that Phil does. But I also have to follow the rules. Okay. So to answer your question, there's these rejection-free openings. Okay,
Okay.
so if it's a text and you can use these. But if you're texting, are you thinking like a new lead or?
It might even be
Buyers
someone that you
selling?
know that says, hey, we're thinking about, or hey, here's a scenario and.
You can still use these.
Yeah.
Here's the one that go back to all the time that I want to, and thank you for asking that question. It's called opening fact question, or what we call an OFQ. It's a simple opening. A mutually agreeable fact, and that's what's critical, mutually agreeable fact. And then a simple to answer question. So I get a text message from a past client, hey, we were kind of thinking about moving, what do you think of what's going on in the market? We need to get more information from them. The opening fact question. Hey, it's Chris. You're considering making a move. You're curious about what's going on in the current market. Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. Where are you thinking of moving to? Now you've started the conversation to get them to give you more information. You could do that via text. But what will happen is you're asking a few more questions. Well, we're thinking of downsizing. We really, summer's coming and I am tired of doing yard work, whatever. They're gonna tell you. I can understand that. When would be a good time for us to get together and have a strategy meeting? You still want to get yourself in front of them. That's also a really good thing. I don't know how many get cold leads, or if you're getting calls from Zillow on a listing or a sign call or whatever. If you get the call, it's the same thing. You want to find out, oh, so you're calling on 123 Main Street. Yes, that's right. They can agree with that. And curious, what about that home caused you to pick up the phone and call? Let them talk. The next question then would be, well, where are you living now? You don't want to hammer on them. Well, are you pre-approved? Do you have an agent? Blah, blah. They're going to hang up on you. They're not going to stay with you. But what if you said, I'm curious, what caused you to pick up the phone and call on that property? Well, where are you living now? Is the property you called on the only one you saw that was of interest to you? What other neighborhoods are you considering? Well, none really. We just want to be here. How many homes have you looked at in the area? That's what's going to tell you if they've been out going to open. Well, we've gone to a couple open houses. Or, well, we've been talking to another agent that showed us some houses. By asking those questions, that's how you're going to get the info. Make sense? What other questions? Anybody have any other questions?
I always feel like I should let the agents go first, but I'm kind of curious, like, from a social media standpoint, then is that kind of the recipe that you're using for posts also?
There
or-
is, and there is a way to do that. I can send you, or I can send the front desk, the video from Phil.
Okay.
He's also the one that I follow, and it helps with social media and with email. Email is more important.
Gotcha.
Okay, social media is different because it depends, your content and the whole other class, your content needs to be set so that it is speaking to your ideal client. Okay. And to do that, asking questions is good, as well as answering questions. So you need to know who your ideal client is, who are you trying to attract, and what are their problems.
Gotcha.
That's all you need to know. What's the problem? Because now you can give them, here's a solution. Hey,
Verify things. You
I'm
can.
hearing this question lately. Or I'm hearing this a lot, people are challenged with this. Here's some possible solutions and pop in 2 or 3 bullet points.
Gotcha. Okay.
For social media, email. There's a way to set up an email. I'll send you the video
Okay.
because
great.
we're becoming very irrelevant in people's email because they get too many.
Yeah.
Right.
And we want to stay relevant so that when they see our name, they actually read the email.
Right.
Mhm.
Especially if you're doing newsletters and stuff like that. I mean, newsletter are great, but they gotta open it. Seeing your name, yes, I know, seeing your name is one thing. Here's a really scary statistic. We were taught for how many years that people needed to see something 7 times before it sunk in?
Right.
It's 25.
If you think about all the stuff that comes at you.
Yeah.
That's
It's
why.
increased, yeah.
Because the amount of information that is coming at us now is 10 times more than it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
We
true.
can't absorb it all. We cannot. Our brains don't work that way. And so when you think about that and you think about, okay, your 36 touch should be at least 100.
Hmm.
At least 100.
Yeah.
36 is not enough anymore. Because we have way too much getting thrown at us, and it's happened so fast. That most people, most sales people, most sales companies, trainers are not keeping up. That's why this is different.
Hmm.
Okay, he's been studying language for 25 years. Okay, this is not new. And we know that. But it's more relevant now than it's ever been because people don't want to be told what to do. They don't want a 2-hour listing appointment. Stop telling them 500 things you can do for them. They don't care. You need to find out what's important to them and just show that value. And I know this is anti-Gary Keller, I get it. However,
But it makes
I want you to think about something. Bill Jones has a 3-year contract with Gary Keller. Gary brought Bill in for a reason because he's smart enough to know that changes are happening and he is not going to be the one to study and bring us the information. There is a reason that Gary Keller has a 3-year contract with Phil. If you can get to Minnesota, Phil is at the region doing a full day training in Minneapolis on May 1st.
Mhm.
If you can get there, I will be there. If you can get there, get there. Hearing from him is mind blowing.
Mhm.
If you've been there, you get it. Those of you that have seen him in person, he has a heart the size of Texas. He wants us all to succeed. This is not his moneymaker. He has multiple other businesses. This is his passion project. And he chose Keller Williams. I had dinner with him last week, Wednesday. We were in New York for training, for guides training. And there were only 3 of us. I had dinner with him last week, Wednesday. Okay. We are in front of the brand, not behind it. EXP is on him like crazy. And he said at dinner last week, Wednesday, it has nothing to do with somebody else's business model. Different things work for different people. I'm committed to Keller Williams because you guys understand that education is what's needed and they don't. You guys understand there are, I think 7 of us with KDA, 7 or 8 out of the 52 guides that are with Keller Williams. And there's probably going to be a few more. And he just hired 2 in Canada. There's a 3rd he's talking to, all Keller Williams. Because of the fact that Gary understands things are changing. Phil's gonna be everywhere. He just was in Jacksonville for a day. At their region, so the North Florida region. He's gonna be in upstate New York. I'm gonna be there with him. He's gonna be in Minneapolis. He's gonna be in Colorado. That's Vail in September. I want.
Let's go down.
It's weird how all these prestige. Wow.
That would be-
Vail in September.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a maps coach that lives there and a really good friend of mine who's a KW agent in Denver. And they're like, you have to come. I'm like, can I afford the hotel room?
Right.
Right? But there's a reason that Gary hired him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here. I've got other classes that are coming up. I mean, this is my business, so they're not all free.
Yeah.
I don't mind pouring into you guys at all.
Thank you, Chris.
Not at all.
This is
Thank you
so
very
great.
So this 16-hour training, is that open to us or what?
Okay, I thank you for bringing that up. I can send you this. I've got 6 workshops coming up. It is a system. Okay, if you follow all of it, if you go to my website, cmrcoachingconsulting.com, I can send this to you guys as well. Okay, each session is separate. There's some discounts if you do more, but I did it individually on purpose because not everybody needs every single one. The 16-hour training. If you go to New York and you do it with Bill, it's $5,500. Okay, and being in the room with him is pretty awesome. There's a 2-day training, there's a 3-day training. I am looking at doing it in person here because I can do it. And it would be 1,500 instead of 5,500. Okay, so I'm not sure when yet. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of that. But that is really deep into all the stuff, the perspective changers, these are called rejection-free openings. I love opening that question, but I'm like, and I've had KW people, you guys are gonna freak out, because there's a word in here that we have been told to never, never, never use. I'm not sure if it's for you, but could it be possible that if we got together, we could work through this? Do not emphasize but. When we're in the training room with him and he asks people, first of all, they freak out and they try to say yet. No, it's but, use the word but, because here's what happens. Your unconscious mind hears the word but and immediately disregards the beginning of the sentence and wants to know what's coming. Okay, so there's 2 things that happen. Number one, that person's gonna really pay attention to what comes after. And number 2, don't you dare tell me what's for me and what's not. I will decide that. Okay, so I'm serving to you, but would it be possible that if we got together and worked through this, we could get you to let me home faster? I'm not sure if this is for you, but okay, that sounds confrontational.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's for you, but how about if we do this? So that it goes through everything. So there's a lot more of the phrases and they are based on neuroscience. They work, you're not being confrontational. And there's a lot here to go through, and then you get the workbook, and there are exercises in here. And he made us do, he always does. There's a 3-day that is real estate emphasis. That's 5,500, or a 2-day. They're both 5,500 in plus going to New York. I would highly recommend go to Minneapolis if you could go. Be in the room with him. The morning is going to be a general session. There's 2 different prices. The morning is going to be a general session. There is a VIP ticket that's $4.99, but that's coffee and breakfast with him in the morning. The general session, lunch, an afternoon mastermind session, which will be a smaller group with him, and then he's going to have books and do book signings. If you can do it, that's a really good place to be. And then if you want the sort of the 16-hour workshop, I'll be doing it here. I'm probably August or September, maybe sooner. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Because we're moving to the lake house.
Ah,
Did I tell you that? I did, that's what I thought.
very cool.
Yeah, so I'm still gonna be here too. So like 1 week a month, we're gonna come down and hang out and see our kids and grandkids and.
Fun. Well, thank you
Hey,
so
yes,
much.
thank
That was so good for us.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, let me know. But let me know if you want me to jump on a Zoom.
Yeah, I love that. I wrote
Okay.
it down. I'll
Yeah.
talk with Ally when
And we
she's
can do
back
that
and
where we
figure
can,
out- Yeah,
I'll help you guys role play with the cards.
yeah.
I've got groups in different market centers in different parts of the country that are doing
Okay.
that now, and it's really helping them internalize this, because you don't want to be thinking about what to say when you're talking to somebody.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Oh,
and
that's
it
cool.
takes time, takes practice, put the time
Mm-hmm.
in, it gets easy.
Yeah.
And it is so, it just changes every conversation.
Mhm.
I've done this now with my 13-year-old grandson after the one in New Hampshire. Dad's 20 years active duty military, so dad can get a little black and white. He's retiring in June. This ought to be interesting.
Oh.
It's been, well, it's really interesting too, is that he actually called me this morning. He's a colonel, so. I mean, he's been a special operations commander, he's been in Africa, Afghanistan, in every horrid place there is. And so it's hard for him. And they do give them coaches.
Mhm.
And he called me this morning. Now, he's been with this coach since last fall. And he did come to me and said, Mom, you're a like trained coach and all that stuff. Is it okay if I talk to you too? I'm like, well, it is, and I am shocked beyond belief that you would actually ask.
Yeah.
And he called this morning and he said something that I've been waiting for him to realize. I've been talking to a different company. Cisco's been after him, the big companies, because he has the highest security clearance. They've been after him, all these companies. I'm like, you're not gonna like it. You can't do it. You give orders, and people that you give orders to have to do what you told them to do.
Mhm.
You can work in perfectly. Called me this morning, he said, I realized something. I said, okay, I'm here. Okay. When I retire in June, I won't have a purpose. I have to figure out what my purpose is. Finally,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. If only someone taught the one thing too. I can help you find that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
But think
Kind of
about
harsh reality.
Yeah, for
having
sure.
these conversations. And then when we were there last, and he was kind of getting, my grandson's 13 and I was going to the mall and buying cologne. I didn't think kids do that anymore, but I guess they still do, because then my granddaughter, who just turned 9, got perfume for her birthday on Saturday.
Like these stores with all the perfume like things,
It's
right? You guys.
Become some kind of thing.
Right.
Yes, but the 13-year-old was, they were really giving him a hard time. He went in his room and he shut the door and he locked the door. I gave him a little bit and I came up and he said, it's Mama, can I just come in and chat? And he let me in. So I'm just curious. What happened? That's all I said.
Mhm.
And we started talking. Said, well, could it be possible? Started asking him some of these questions. He said, you come down whenever you want. I just want to make sure you're okay. 5 minutes later, he came back down and everything was fine.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like. What did you say? So, well, let me tell you what. Here's what I said.
There you go.
And this morning, when he said that to me, he said, who's the author again that you're working with? Maybe I should like check it out.
Exactly.
very cool.
Yeah.
So think about how this changes all of your relationships.
Right.
And your conversations.
Yeah. For sure.
If I get a 13-year-old,
Mhm.
I was pretty proud of myself. I was like, huh, this stuff really works.
Exactly. I was gonna kid you earlier when you said about like if you use the word but, then they'll listen. So I was gonna say maybe when I call my son from now on, I'm gonna start, but.
Anybody that, and this I've experienced often, even with other people too, is think about someone that you are not getting along with, someone that you're having an argument with. What if you stayed calm and just started asking questions?
Yeah.
Well, just out of curiosity, what makes you say that? If you can ask 4 or 5 calm questions, they will calm down. And you can have a conversation,
Right.
because you're not firing back at them.
Mhm. And you're learning like what the true pain point is, because that's a lot of the times I think, and I think everybody does it, but you jump to a conclusion of where they're
Mhm.
coming from. And so you're trying to defend like your position when like a couple of times when I have like been like, well, like, let's see what is, you know, the purpose of this. Then you realize, no, they're coming from someplace else. And now I see how they could have taken that the wrong way or
Right,
whatever.
well,
So, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. I have a coaching client that wanted to go, I remember what she wanted to do, something on vacation, and her husband kept saying, no, I don't want to do that. And she was getting mad. after our coaching session and going through some things, she called me the next day and said, you know what? I said, well, I'm just curious, why do you say that? He didn't want to because he was afraid. It was something, I think they were going to Hawaii and she wanted to do one of the helicopter tour thingies and he was
Oh.
afraid.
Mm.
And I said, well, did you not know that before? And she
Right.
said, no, I never asked.
Yeah,
I just got mad because he didn't want to do what I wanted to do.
right. Yeah.
Well, okay, here you go.
Exactly.
So it's exactly
Yeah.
that. You're not asking, because we don't understand. Why is
Right.
it that you're mad at me?
Mm-hmm.
Or why is it that you're mad about this? Or why are you giving me a hard time about this?
Right.
And when we ask why, they get defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious what makes you say that.
Right.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It really does make a huge difference. It really does.
Mhm.
And so I hope this was helpful, guys.
Sure.
Again,
Thank
like I
you.
said, I've
Yeah.
got other stuff going on. We'll figure
Thank
out
you.
a time to get on
Okay.
Zoom.
Cool.
Because if you've got the card, and I meant to bring an extra set in case you didn't have them, but you do.
We
so
do,
That's
yep.
awesome.
Great. Chris, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Really appreciate your time. That was great.
I
Get
love
out
doing
this
this.
other cash before I-
Get extra money.
There you are.
Thank you.
How was Brandon's?
You know what?
Well, when they're in their
You're
mid-80s.
gonna be able to
Yeah.
watch the video because it was recorded, so that's for you. And Chris, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Chris is starting to be thaw.
I was like, someone was like.
The wakes are starting to